Hey everyone, how's it going? Shuffle's back here with another video, and it is Balance Patch Day. Um, I've already looked at them briefly. Normally, I react to them as I'm reading them, but today, because I already knew who was in them, uh, I'm gonna try and make this a quick video where we just simplify basically what all of them are, and I'll give you guys a quick reaction and what I think about them as we go. So let's jump right over into the game. There we go. First up, if you didn't already know, we have Apocalypse Ravi. Maybe we should start at the bottom, but we're going to start with her because hers is probably the one people care about the most. Let me move this here. Alright, so first things first, her skill 1. Her skill 1 was just a basic attack. She could burn into it for increased damage. Now this S1 is going to have injury, so similar to injury gear. This will apply injuries. The severity of injuries is going to be up. Oh, well, let me scroll down here. By up to 10% for every skill. So you can't do more than 10% injury every time she moves. Also, the Soul Burn will do more increased damage than it used to before. So the Soul Burn is still here, but the increased damage is better than it was. Next up, she gave buffs on all 3 skills. Next up, her passive. Passive remains the same, except there's an added effect. Also increases CR of the caster by 15% every time she's attacked. So if you attack her, not only does she get the heal now, but she also gets a 15% CR push, which is kind of nice. It'll let her cut. When it comes to soloing fights, it'll make her just that much better. And then finally on her skill 3, the revive used to be revive with 10% HP. It is now going to be with 30% HP, which if it's reviving a squishy unit, that probably doesn't matter, but if she happens to revive a Ruel or an FCC or something like that, that could be very impactful. And also, damage dealt by this skill is going to increase every time somebody dies. So this is going to be whether someone on your team dies or somebody on their team dies, the damage will increase on this and it'll stack up to 3 times. So if you can survive, or if Ravi can survive long enough for 3 people to die, she'll get 3 stacks on her skill 3, and this skill 3 already does pretty crazy damage. This girl's going to be a pain to deal with. She's already pretty crazy. I know people shit on her, but usually it's because they don't know how to use her or just haven't really tried her out. She's actually very, very scary. She can solo almost anything. She does big damage. She doesn't take any damage. She has probably the best revive in the game. And now on top of that, she's got bonus damage across the board. She's got a free CR boost. She's got an even better revive than she had before. And she gets stacks on her skill 3. So if you have a Ravi, congratulations. She just got a whole lot better. Moving on to a limited water unit that everybody's been asking for the longest time. And they actually gave her the buff that I've been suggesting since the beginning of time. So first things first, this skill 1. The skill 1 is like just a disgustingly bad skill. I hate this skill so much. It basically is random damage. You can either get 3 attacks, 4 attacks, or 5 attacks. If you get 5 attacks with it, the damage is insane. But if you get 3 attacks, the damage is totally scuffed, and that just makes her not reliable. What they've done is they've taken the burn off of her skill 3 and they've moved it onto her skill 1, meaning that now when you soul burn for only 10 souls, you can get the max hits on this every single time. So being able to burn into this, she's going to do crazy damage with that skill 1 because you'll be able to guarantee maximum damage. Basically double the damage that she would get with a min hit, she's going to be able to get with her max hit every time you burn. That's really, really strong for her skill 1, particularly for things like Abyss. That is going to be very, very helpful. Moving on to her passive. Her passive, they've broken up a little bit. So before, it was just completely separate. You can see it here. So increases attack and crit chance by 30% when over 50%, and then increases defense and chance of suffering a crit when under 50%. Now it's going to be increases crit chance and critical hit resistance automatically, just passively, by 30%. So you're going to get them regardless, which means that she has evasion, essentially. So it's actually anti-crit. But essentially a form. Well, she's got anti-crit, 30% anti-crit, and her crit buff all the time. And then now the attack percent is before 50%, and the defense is after 50%. So that part remains the same. But the fact that you can keep your crit chance, whether no matter what her health is, will make a big difference. And then finally, down to her skill 3. This is a big one as well, and is going to make her more dangerous in PvP. Is this now has an ignore defense. So this is now ignores defense by 50%. And you don't obviously you don't have to burn into it. You can't burn into it anymore. But now you get that ignore defense every single time. It'll also acquire 5 souls instead of 3, which is nice if you're trying to soul build. Again, especially for Abyss, you're trying to build up souls with this for Abyss. Getting those extra souls and getting the ignore defense on this is going to be really good. We'll have to test her out into things like Carrot, into Charlotte, stuff like that. Those kind of fire units where you just want to nuke them on turn 1. We'll have to see what happens there, but getting that buff there and being able to soul burn into the skill 1, I think is going to be really impactful. If anything, that's the thing I'm most excited about, is actually being able to use her and having her be reliable. Does it help her for Wyvern? Not really, but I mean, nobody's really using her for Wyvern right now anyway, so I think for Abyss and potentially for PvP, if you want to use her for skill 3 in PvP, this is going to be really nice, because this is element neutral, right? Yeah. Well, element advantage with this skill 3. So having element advantage skill 3 that ignores defense means you can go against anybody and you'll be safe. You just got to get a return. Moving on, we're going to go over to the fire units. And I'm kind of surprised about this one. Not that I don't think he didn't need a buff, but I'm just surprised he's getting one. Up next is Cowark. So what they've done is they have, first things first, they moved his stealth. So he used to get stealth after using this skill. Now they've moved that, and he gets 2 turns stealth after using this skill. So basically, he goes first, uses the skill, goes into stealth, and then hopefully, for his sake, he can come back around and use his skill 3 next time around. Adds a little more survivability anyway, because normally people were using this skill first. Stealth for 2 turns, and then, yeah. That's it. That's his whole buff, is just moving the stealth from one to the other. I'm trying to see if they don't really say anything about it here, but yeah. Yeah, basically that's it. They did also change his exclusive, though, just so you know. They moved the exclusive for the attack buff. Instead of the attack buff being when you use this skill, the attack buff on his exclusive is now going to be when he uses his skill 3. So, very small changes for him, but it will make him easier to use. I feel like people were just like, why? And why do you have it backward? So they fixed that, they put it back where it was, and we'll have to see if people use it more. I know I said people were probably most excited for Ravi, because she's an ML, but everybody loves this guy and nobody uses him, so more getting the buff that everybody's been crying for. His skill 1, Extermination, they've moved his soul burn from his skill 3. So this skill 3 is, we'll get to it eventually, but they've taken the soul burn off of here And the damage you would have gotten from this soul burn is now there automatically. So you don't have to soul burn his skill 3, he'll automatically get that burn damage. They've moved the burn over to skill 1, and the skill 1 now increases effect chance to 100%. So that's a 100% chance to defense break for only 10 souls, similar to Rem that we just got. So he now has 100% defense break as well. And if he happens to have his enrage buff, then he can also ignore defense, or sorry, ignore res. So that's kind of nice. His passive now also gets a little bit of a buff. On top of the 30% chance, that 30% chance actually moves up to 50% chance to activate Sacred Blessing, which is his increased crit rate or anti-crit. But also has a 30% chance to counter attack when attacked. So I know people like myself, I have him on speed set with Elbrus. Now, speed set with Elbrus and his built-in counter attack, that's almost a guaranteed counter at that point, particularly if he's on defense. Getting that chance to counter, plus the increased chance of proccing Sacred Blessing is really nice. It says 30%. Yeah, so it's 40% when skilled up. Now it'll be up to 50%, so that'll jump up a little bit. Nice little boost on his chance to proc that, plus the fact that he can counter is really nice, especially when he's countering into a defense break, and also potentially into his Sacred Blessing there. And then finally, his skill 3. This is the damage dealt by the injury was up to 15% every time the skill was used. They boosted that up to 20%. Is that going to make a difference? No, it's going to be the smallest increase in injury damage. It will not be impactful. But at least you get the bonus damage from the soul burn without having to soul burn here. So that's kind of nice. Will this make him useful? He's still going to be kind of hard to use because we just, like they keep doing with him, they keep releasing him and buffing him now to be impactful for things that have already passed. The RTA meta in particular has shifted from HP-based bruisers, and now it's like attack-based bruisers, and now they're putting him where he probably should have been before. He's fine. I mean, he's usable. He's not bad, but is he great? No, definitely not. Anyway, up next, we have a ML 4-star that everybody already knows about because we tried to recall him, and apparently they bugged out the recall. Roaming Warrior Leo. So first up... Oh, wait, that skill's actually not getting a buff. So they're buffing his skill 2 and his skill 3. This is the skill 2, Fire Shock Bomb, 80% chance to increase skill cooldowns. That does not do that anymore. This is now chance to decrease defense for 2 turns, and it still scales up to 100%. So 2-turn defense break, AoE, that's really, really strong. Also detonates bombs still. They say detonation damage increased. I don't know what that means, really. I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know how much that's going to increase it by. We'll have to see. But if you want to use him as your detonator, then by all means, go ahead. I feel like they said this was going to be a rework, and really they just changed the cooldown to decreased defense. That's really... The decreased defense is really strong, but this doesn't really make him synchronize overly well with Izaria, which I thought they were going to do. Like, I thought they were going to make him be the bomber, and then Izaria would be the detonator, but it doesn't look like that's going to work very well. Moving on to his skill 3, attacks all enemies with this skill. Decreasing buff durations by 1 turn. So instead of this being just a chance to decrease speed and plant a bomb, this is now going to strip, quote unquote, strip immunity if you happen to have immunity, then place the bomb. and decreased speed. So you still get everything there, except you get the strip as well. So basically everybody in the game now strips. They really do love adding AoE strips to everybody. Although this is a buff decrease, not actually a strip, but also it grants skill no to himself. So this skill kind of got loaded all of a sudden. It's a strip, plus a bomb, plus a slow, plus skill null, plus he can burn into it and get an extra turn to detonate. So it actually does quite a bit here. I don't know if you would run him with Izaria. He kind of feels like he would do his job on his own. If you really wanted to, you could, I guess, strip, then him, and then Izaria, and just not burn into him. But remember, he is a ranger, so he would require 20 souls regardless. If you could get him really fast, like if you wanted to go Oxlots into him, you could do that. Oxlots into Leo. He strips, puts up the bombs, and then she would self-boost into her bombs and then into detonation. That would work as well. So you can maybe build them slow and go that way. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what people come up with that one. Kind of an interesting buff. I'm curious if people use him now. Another 4-star. This time water, and somebody that I never see used anymore. I used to see her a little bit countercleave, is Dominielle. So she used to have a 50% chance here of slowing. It is now a 40% chance to stun instead. And if you soul burn into it for 10 souls, it's 60% chance. If you're going to use her, I wouldn't burn into that for the extra 20% chance. But kind of nice to have. This Blizzard Cape, I believe, is now going to be a passive. This is very confusing the way they have this written. It's going to be called Nixie's Grace. So instead of it being an active skill where it casts a barrier over 2 allies, it's going to be when an ally suffers a critical hit, has a 35% chance to activate Blizzard Cape, which is what this is already. So basically, it's going to be a passive where critting your allies will activate the shield. Activated once every 3 turns. Otherwise, it's the same as normal, but they're turning this into a passive that is activated by an ally of yours getting crit by the enemy. And then Nixie's Grace. Wait, that's the same skill. Ice Spear. There we go. Attacks all enemies with a large block of ice. 90% chance to stun for 1 turn, and a 100% chance to increase CR by 15%. So, decrease CR by 15%. And increase her own speed. So she's getting a speed buff for 2 turns. And that CR decrease, instead of being 50% for... 30%, we have 50% chance. It's going to be a 100% chance to decrease by 15%. I don't know if that made sense when I said it, but you get it. You know, hopefully you know what I mean anyway. And finally, the final unit before we get to the artifacts. One that I'm kind of surprised about again. They insist on trying to make us use her, is Fire Mercedes. So currently this attacks 2 enemies and does nothing. Now it'll increase her own CR by 15%. Kind of nice. So they've already got 3 fire units that attack 2 people with their S1. So I guess they're pushing for another one. They really want people to use this for Expedition, I'm assuming. Moving on to her skill 2. This now has a chance to dispel 1 buff. Just another strip. Everybody in the game is going to strip before long. They really are trying to make it easier to get rid of buffs. But this is now 70% chance to dispel 1 buff. And they're getting rid of the condition. It used to be If used when there are 3 or fewer enemies, activates Dimensional Rupture again. Now it's when the caster is granted increased attack. So the condition is just different. And of course, her skill 3, same thing, it buffs attack. So you would use this skill, buff attack, go into her other skill, and proc her skill 2 twice. The buff on this, instead of damage dealt increases proportional to target's lost health, they're changing that to a critical hit will increase damage. Therefore, you just build her on crit, and she'll get the bonus damage regardless. You don't have to have the condition of target's lost health, so not too bad. So that is it for the unit buffs. Overall, how do I feel about it? Yeah, it's not overly exciting. We do have a new limited unit coming. We got a bunch of new units recently. I'm not surprised this wasn't a hugely impactful rotation in terms of buffs. Ravi buff is nice. Cowark buff was basically nothing. The Luna buff was nice. Some of the stuff that kind of needed it, I guess. But nothing crazy, nothing broken. Let's move over to the artifacts really quick. First up, one of the artifacts that I don't know if I've ever actually seen used, if I can find it. I think it's a warrior artifact, actually. Yeah, Merciless Glutton. The unit artifact. Basically, the CR is being increased from 15% to 16%. And now, when you defeat an enemy with a single attack, it increases CR of all allies other than the caster by 12%. So you can nuke somebody and boost everybody on your team, which is really nice. Question is, what's changing? I'm not really sure what's upgrading. Like the difference between level 1. So this looks like it's going to be 16% the whole time. And they're going to remove the 100% chance to increase effectiveness. And it looks like what's going to upgrade, it'll probably be like at level 15 it's 6% boost, and at level 30 it's 12% boost. That's what it looks like it's going to be. Which is kind of nice. Like, the person that comes to mind with this is Strays. So Strays kills somebody and then gets a CR boost for the rest of your team. Kind of nice. You could also use this on her, I guess, as a CR boost. You could use it on anybody. But Strays is the one that comes to mind since he doesn't really have a set artifact as to what's best for him. And then this last one's kind of impactful. Where is it? Secret Art Swordstorm. And I know people that actually use this, particularly on Selene. So they're going to be pretty happy with this buff. When an enemy uses a non-attack skill, which is the same thing, it still is going to give you the guaranteed attack buff, but it's now also going to increase CR by 24%. So for Thieves, non-attack skill into CR push is going to be really nice on top of the counterattack. So if you have it on Selene, she just gets a little bit of a boost. A lot of people build her slow so she can do enough damage. So that'll help make up for how slow she is and help her catch up in the anti-cleave setup. It might make her a little bit better. We'll have to see. But either way, that is it for the buffs for this patch. This patch. Let me see what the date is on this. I know it's on here. Balance adjustments. Wow, I don't see the date anywhere. Changes scheduled to take effect on September 2nd. So 2 weeks from now. Or a week and a bit from now, this will take place. Is that right? Yeah. So not this upcoming patch, but the one after this upcoming patch. So a patch and a half from now. These buffs will be live. Hope you guys are excited. good luck with your Charles summons if you're doing them. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. That's going to be it for today. Have a great one, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye for now, guys.